How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today I'll try my hand at answering a question as old as Don't Starve Together itself. That is, where is the best location to build your base? Now, while this guide was created with Don't Starve Together specifically in mind, many of its concepts will also apply to those playing the single-player version of the game as well, providing it has the Reign of Giants expansion enabled. Before we begin, it's important to note that, as always, the presentation here is based on my opinion and playstyle. Many of my worlds don't last past day 600, which is the equivalent of 80 real-life hours spent playing that world. Part 1. The fundamentals. To get started, let's establish some fundamental concepts. There are two types of resources in the world of Don't Starve Together. Resources that can be relocated, like evergreens or berry bushes, and resources that cannot be relocated, like reeds or a cactus. In the future, I'm going to refer to the latter as static resources. The first step to deciding the optimal location for your base is to take into account the location of resources that cannot be relocated in your world and try your best to create a base that allows you easy access to those resources. To that end, I'm going to further break down the classification of static resources into the following two categories: biome-dependent static resources, such as reeds in a marsh, and biome-independent static resources, such as wormholes. Let's tackle the biome-dependent static resources first, and we will do that by taking a closer look at two of the most important biomes in Don't Starve Together: the swamp biome and the dragonfly desert biome. The swamp has the following unique static resources: reeds, rundown merm houses, tentacles, and purple ponds. The reeds are the most valuable resource in the previous list, as they are used for crafting many important items once refined into papyrus, such as wax paper, shadow armor, honey poultice, and all of Wickerbottom's books. The rundown houses in the swamp spawn merms, which, while aggressive towards the player, can also provide better protection against unexpected hound attacks and help you farm local swamp resources, such as tentacles, mosquitoes, and spiders, as the merms are naturally aggressive towards all three. Tentacles from the swamp are especially valuable to Wickerbottom, as they allow her to craft her book on tentacles from the spots they drop. Tentacles from the swamp also provide decent defense against unexpected boss or hound attacks, and frequently drop tentacle spikes when killed, which are preferred to using a spear as your go-to weapon of choice. Purple ponds aren't as useful as the previous three static resources, but they do spawn mosquitoes at night, which merms will farm for you if their houses are located close to the purple pond. Moving on to the dragonfly desert biome, it has the following unique static resources: tumbleweeds, cactus, and hound mounds. It's important to note before I get started here that the desert in Don't Starve Together with the dragonfly is also the only desert where you will find tumbleweeds and hound mounds. While you don't have to worry about smoldering during summer in the oasis desert in Don't Starve Together, it's also lacking in tumbleweeds and hound mounds, making it less useful in comparison. Tumbleweeds are the main attraction here, as they are one of the best ways to gather lots of grass, twigs, and trinkets, the latter of which can be traded in at the Pig King for lots of gold. The cactus in the desert grow year-round and are a great source of on-demand vegetables for important crockpot recipes like pierogies, or can be used to restore 15 sanity apiece when cooked. Hound mounds frequently spawn hounds, which make them an effective source of both monster meat and hound's teeth, the former of which can be used in many crockpot recipes, and the latter of which are needed for building sewing kits and tooth traps. With biome-dependent static resources now out of the way, I'm going to focus on biome-independent resources. These are important static resources that are not limited to any one type of biome. Two of the most important biome-independent static resources are wormholes and cave entrances. Wormholes are valuable because they allow you to quickly jump from one area of the map to another at a small cost to sanity. This makes them quite useful for getting around the map or quickly exiting your base when a boss or hound attack is imminent. Sinkholes are what connect you to the underworld and Don't Starve Together, providing you have caves enabled on your server. The caves, and by extension of that, the ruins, have many valuable resources in them, and you will likely want to visit them frequently to take advantage of the abundance they offer. Sinkholes also spawn basilisks at dusk after being opened, which should be contained because you probably don't want random bats flying around your base at night attacking you. Part 2. Caveats. This concludes the introduction to the fundamentals of base location, and I'll be moving on to putting them into practice in Part 3. But before that, I'd like to make a note of my reason for excluding a few popular static resources from the previous list, those being the Pig King, the Mosaic Biome, the Oasis Desert Biome, and the Moonstone. The only time you'll need to visit the Pig King is when you need gold, and since trinkets can easily be hoarded, you'll need to make the trip maybe twice a year to acquire all the gold that's needed. A lucky wormhole or sinkhole could decrease the time it takes to travel to the Pig King as well, so there is simply no need to build a base around him. There is also a Glommer statue near to the Pig King area, but you'll only need to go there once and don't starve together to get Glommer unless you carelessly let him die, because Glommer no longer drops wings, which were needed to craft the old bell in Reign of Giants. The only other reason to kill Glommer is to instantly spawn Krampus, which I don't consider to be a valuable time investment until the very late game, as the chance of Krampus dropping his sack is 1%. There are much more important things to invest your time in. The meteors that hit the Mosaic Biome create new sources of stone along with other minerals, but I've never felt the need to rely on meteors for my minerals, as I can easily get most of those same minerals from large petrified forests that happen over time, or in the caves from earthquakes, cave-ins, and mining stalagmites. There's no point in basing in the Oasis Desert Biome to prevent smoldering, which leads to fires in summer. If you don't like summer smoldering and don't starve together, just create a summer cave base. Otherwise, just build some flingamatics for your base. I've seen so many players insist on basing in the Oasis Desert to the detriment of all other fundamental static resources. Please don't be one of them. In regards to the Moonstone, once activated, it will provide free cooling, which can be useful in the summer, similar to how a skilled furnace can be used in the winter. It also provides a fire pit-sized amount of light, but I don't have an issue staying cool during the summer, and I always try to keep a source of light on me at all times, thus making the value proposition of this static resource dubious. While basing around any of these static resources can be fun, their usefulness pales in comparison to the other static resources I've previously emphasized in Part 1. Part 3. Execution. It's time to bring it all together. Once you've mapped an outline around the world, or at least have a good idea of where all the biomes are, it's time to find a location to build your base. I'm quite flexible as to the exact location, but considering the fundamentals discussed in Part 1, here's what I look for when deciding the final base location. 1. A couple of nearby wormholes. At least one should go to another important location or biome on the map. For example, the Swamp Biome or the Pig King. It's okay if the second wormhole doesn't go anywhere useful, as you can still use the area on the other side of that wormhole for killing hound waves or dealing with seasonal boss spawns. 2. At least one nearby sinkhole for access to the caves, though you might not want this too close to the heart of your base, unlike the wormhole, due to the basilisks it spawns during the evening. I usually control basilisks by building pigmen or bunnyman houses near to the cave's entrance. 3. Swamp Biome should always be accessible either through wormholes or by building the base close to it. 4. Dragonfly Desert Biome should be accessible either through a wormhole or by building base close to it. Taking these 4 factors into consideration should yield some prime spots for settlement as early as day 8, but make sure to take some extra time while exploring during the first 7 or so days to explore the wormholes fully, while also mapping out the edges of the world, so you'll know which wormholes are linked when it's time to decide on a base location. If you have extra time, you can even pop in and out of any sinkholes you come across to see which ones have better resources close by. Extra points go to cave entrances with lots of light bulbs or blue mushrooms near to the entrance. So this concludes my base guide for Don't Starve Together. Once again, the information presented in this video represents my opinion and is most efficient for my style of play, but is by no means absolute. Tweak it as needed to get something you like. My hope here is to at least give you some ideas on how you can choose optimal locations for any future bases you build. Thanks for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.